Welcome to a brand new episode of Law and Batting Order. I'm your host, Tony Iliakostas. Here are some quick hits from the past 2 weeks. Drama continues to unfold in Major League Baseball as the first steps have been taken to punish those directly involved in the biogenesis scandal. This week, Milwaukee Brewers outfielder Ryan Braun came clean to Major League Baseball as he said that he indeed received and used performance-enhancing drugs from Tony Bosch, the head of the Biogenesis Health Clinic in Miami, Florida. Because he came forward about this, Ryan Braun was suspended for the rest of this season without pay, which means that he will not be making $3.5 million. Remember, this is not the first time Ryan Braun has been linked to PED use. Back in 2012, after being named the NL MVP, he tested positive for PEDs, but his suspension was overturned over procedural error in the drug testing process. Aside from Braun, there has been lingering rumors that Yankees third baseman Alex Rodriguez may face a lifetime ban for his PED use linked to biogenesis. Much has yet to be seen regarding this whole scandal, but for now, it looks like MLB is not taking this issue lightly. On a lighter note, last week, baseball fans around the world had the privilege of watching one of the most special moments in the baseball season. That's right, I'm talking about the All-Star Game. This year's All-Star festivities were held at Citi Field, home of the New York Mets. Yours truly was at all the events, and from beginning to end, you could witness baseball history at its finest. The All-Star Game showcased some of the best talent around the league, including Mets ace Matt Harvey and David Wright, along with Orioles first baseman Chris Davis, Tigers third baseman Miguel Cabrera, and Cardinals outfielder Carlos Beltran, who is still a fan favorite among Mets fans. While the NL had decent pitching throughout the course of the game, they weren't able to produce enough offense as the AL went on to win the Midsummer Classic 3-0. Regardless of who won or lost, the experience of having the All-Star Game in Queens is something I'll never trade up. NFL training camp is underway, and this is the time where we get to see the strengths and weaknesses of our beloved teams. One team worth keeping an eye on are the New England Patriots, who are without Aaron Hernandez after he was charged with murder and subsequently dropped by the Pats. The Patriots are also without Rob Gronkowski, who is recovering from surgery. And then we have good old Tim Tebow, who is dying to make his name again in the league. Another team worth paying attention to are the Washington Redskins, particularly because we'll have our first glimpse of RG3 coming back on the field after suffering a brutal knee injury in the playoffs. And of course, the season of training camps opening wouldn't be complete without paying homage to the Dallas Cowboys, who continue to believe that they are a Super Bowl caliber team despite having a very overrated quarterback leading the way. On the bright side, training camp means one thing: we're a few weeks closer to the start of the football season. In today's Order in the Court, we're switching things up a bit. As you can see, I'm not in front of the desk. There's no bobbleheads around me, and I don't have a sports attorney talking sports law with me. But I did want to take some of the most pressing sports law headlines out there and pose those questions to pedestrians here in New York City in Columbus Circle. Today, right here, right now, Law and Batting Order is taking it to the streets. We're here with Andy. Andy, talking sports. Andy, where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. So I take it you're not a Brooklyn Nets fan?
I'm trying to be a Brooklyn Nets fan. I think I should be a Brooklyn Nets fan.
All right, we are here with Julia, Larry, and Elizabeth. Where are you guys coming from?
California.
And I hear you're Angels fans?
We are.
Are you a little bit disappointed with Josh Hamilton's performance?
Yeah, I would say so. You pay that kind of money and then he's not performing where you expect him to play, obviously, not getting our bang for our buck.
All right, I'm here with Travis and Choppy. Choppy, where are you from?
New York.
New York City, baby.
All right, Travis, we got both New Yorkers here. We're going to talk sports. So I think one of the biggest headlines going on in sports right now has to be what's going on in biogenesis in Major League Baseball. So just analyzing the whole situation from beginning to end, how do you think Major League Baseball has been handling the biogenesis scandal?
I think it's kind of interesting that they've really gotten in bed with biogenesis about this whole thing. I think it's, these rumors that A-Rod might get suspended for life when Braun got suspended for 50 some odd games. I don't quite understand how you justify one length of suspension versus another.
As baseball fans, how are you interpreting Major League Baseball's action from beginning to end?
I think they need it, like her brother was saying, draw the line in the sand. If they decide from this point that you do it, then you're done. They should just ban the person for life. When you look at Pete Rose, they banned him for life, so why not do with this stuff? So.
What about you?
We just actually came from the Hall of Fame before coming to New York City, so it was really disappointing to see A-Rod and all his stuff in there, along with, the true greats who didn't cheat to get to where they were. So definitely I think that they should not be included in the Hall of Fame. And certainly, from this point forward, if you get caught, then yeah, I don't think baseball's being too hard on them. I think that you cheat. Yeah. You cheat the fans, you cheat the game, you cheat your team. So I think they're being more than fair with them.
Travis, what do you think of the whole situation? Do you think the punishment fits a crime?
I think they should be given a much harder suspension. 65 games, okay, for a guy that lied about it and got out of it on a technicality of his urine sample being left out overnight and not properly been taken care of. So I think in a case like that, I think he should be given the rest of this year and next year's suspension. A-Rod, I think the Yankees are looking for any way out of his contract, so they'll take anything on him. If that's a year, 2 years, whatever it is, I think they're just looking for the easy way out of a contract. So
the whole punishment does seem a little bit odd. Do you think it has to do with the fact that Braun has he's come clean about it? He's been very honest, but A-Rod really is just holding his guard. We're hearing all these even reports about even his medical situation with the quad injury. He's making it such a mystery. I mean, you can sort of sense the nervousness or the inability to tell the truth there. Do you think that's one reason, or that's sort of one correlation to probably why we should expect a lifetime ban for A-Rod?
Well, I mean, the cynic in me says that the lifetime ban for A-Rod is some deal with the Yankees so they don't have to pay that atrocious contract. I hope that's not the case. But Braun thumbed his nose at Major League Baseball when he got off on the technicality. A-Rod, as far as we know, has never tested positive for anything. He admitted to using steroids, right? But I don't know. I mean, I think that you got to punish one in a very similar way. I mean, I hear A-Rod isn't interested in making a deal like Braun did, so I suppose that's different too. But I don't know, maybe there's a level of how much we hate these people depending on how much they want to, so Braun they hate a little bit because he made them look bad, but A-Rod is a total tool, so they hate him a lot.
What do you think Major League Baseball is doing right in this whole situation? Do you think it seems like they're going over the bounds of what the drug testing policy says about punishment? Larry, what do you think about the whole phase, from the punishment phase that they're going through here, and especially in light of what's going on with A-Rod, potential lifetime ban? He's working out a deal with them. I mean, it's sort of outside the written rule of the drug testing policy. What do you think?
I don't know too much about the whole phase thing, but it just seems to me they're giving them an out by doing something like that. And I think once you're caught, there should be no escape clause for something like that. I think you're caught, you're done, and you're banned.
For guys who have been tested more than once and come through more than once, I think the suspensions are going to get tougher and tougher. I think Bud Selig's trying his best to get to the root of it, but I mean, nothing's going to happen unless, instead of doing the 3 strikes you're out rule, I think you just tell them, next time you guys get tested positive, it's a year. Don't give them, they're not children, Next time it's going to be a timeout. It's like, no. One time it happens, you're done for a year.
Sid,
hey, take away contracts and all that other stuff.
So it seems that you're taking the Pete Rose approach. You've done it once, you should be pretty much banned for life from the sport. Do you think that could help the sport in terms of cleaning up the yuckiness in the sport, or do you think this will actually be do you think this could have long-term effects in the future for the whole sport itself as we know it?
I think for now, steroids and human growth hormones are peanut butter and jelly for baseball. They're always going to be there for the last 10 years, 15 years. So they're going to try to do what they can to clean it up. It's never going to be fully cleaned up because these guys don't care.
Let's loop in Julia here. Is cheating a good thing? What happens when you cheat in school?
You get in trouble.
So I think that should be a lesson from Julia to all the baseball fans out there, or baseball players rather. Don't cheat. Don't cheat.
Unfortunately for guys like Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, McGuire, Palmeiro, Sosa, they're missing out on Cooperstown. So I think now with the way they're taking an approach to it, hopefully it will clean it up. But I don't think it ever will. I think it's just always going to be there. It's going to be a new thing to say, oh, baseball, guys are going to be taking shortcuts to reach really high heights.
If you were Bud Selig in his shoes, what would you do differently in terms of punishing players who use performance-enhancing drugs? There's speculation that the whole system should be revised to what you were alluding to, a Pete Rose type of system. Do it once, you're banned for life. Do you take that stance, or do you think the 1, 2, 3 strike system is actually probably the best system?
No, not at all. I think they need ban and some type of clause in the contracts if they could do something like that where it draws most of that money back.
Right. I agree with Larry. You have to, for sure, ban them from the Hall of Fame because it's really disgusting to see them breaking all of these records by cheating, okay? And they're still in there. It's really sickening as fans to go in there and see these guys' pictures up there saying they beat all these wonderful records. Number one. Number two, they should be banned from baseball. And number three, really what it comes down to for a lot of these guys is making that money. So if you hit them financially where it hurts, if they know that the teams that own them are not going to have to pay those big salaries, then I think that it will definitely stop. But like you said, if they're still getting paid, even if they're banned, they don't care. They're all about the money right now. And I think taking that out of the equation for them is going to really stop them from continuing to do that.
Let's move on to Aaron Hernandez. That's another big headline going on. Guys being charged with first-degree murder for the friend, ex-friend of Odin Lloyd, and 5 gun charges. A lot has been going on in terms of that. He's being linked to a double murder charge from back in 2012. The guy has been basically a walking time bomb in terms of being caught in the wrong place in the wrong time, and you don't want to be his friend, basically.
Or his ex-friend, anyway.
Or his ex-friend, yeah. Good comedy routine. Just generally speaking, as a sports fan, when you hear, let's say you're a fan of Aaron Hernandez, as a sports fan, how would you take those news? Like, does it pain you that it almost like he cheats you as a fan of his? Right? Just generally speaking, as a sports fan, what do you see as a problem here?
I think just the whole issue is very disconcerting. In general, being a Giants fan, I should purely, naturally not be bothered by the issue, but in general, I respect the sport, so I respect his craft, and he's a great tight end. But it's just unfortunate that he has to bring his family through all of his trials and tribulations right now, especially right now. It's terrible that he has to drag his family through this court case, and unfortunately, they put the investment in him being their son and investing their whole lives in him, and now, unfortunately, even though I don't think they ever set out for him to be a professional football player, but it's just unfortunate that he might spend the rest of his life in prison.
What do you think it holds? What's the future holding in store for Aaron Hernandez?
It ain't good. Obviously he's going to eventually have to answer to these charges, whether that's, in court or his lawyer weasels him out. Weasels him out. But, it's not nice to go around killing people. I think that's the bottom line,
It's in the 10 Commandments. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think most states, if I'm not wrong about this, make it illegal to kill people. Maybe not Florida, I'm not sure. But like they said in Beretta, don't do the time, don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
Do you see a big problem with NFL players being arrested on such a consistent basis? And as a matter of fact, I think if the number was right, since the Super Bowl, around like 25 plus players have been arrested. I mean, again, as a fan, I know that must be disconcerting. What do you think Roger Goodell should do as a commissioner to really, tone down those arrests and really clean up what the NFL has sort of become? It's sort of become a thuggish league.
I think it's an issue, to be honest, in the whole sports society right now in general, with the materialistic being a common theme in sports right now. And I just believe that right now we kind of just Roger Goodell, honestly, I feel like he just has no more moves to make. And at this point, some football players who are idols need to step up and start making themselves as examples that we can look up to, and realize that these football players, it's not cool to spend all that money, all your contract money right away. It's cool to be a person that is to be a leading example into the future, and especially for this country, and especially, as you know, in our economy. Like, that's the last thing we need right now, is someone to learn from that's just spending their money right away. You need to learn, and you do that first from school. And like, some of these guys, like, I actually really, really look up to Ray Lewis. I think after his court case, he learned a good lesson, and he became a great individual.
Finally, breaking news today with Madison Square Garden basically given a 10-year lease limit. They have 10 years to get out. As a New Yorker, and if you're into the whole Knicks, Rangers, if you've been gone to games there, you can see you've seen the renovations, how nice the transformation has been. How do you think fans, particularly Knicks fans and Rangers fans, will respond to this whole debacle, really?
Well, I mean, the Garden has moved several times. I think it's 5 times since the 1800s or whatever. But my whole lifetime, or at least my cognitive lifetime, the Garden has been exactly where it is now. And so it's kind of traditional. However, Penn Station is a, festering something hole. And I think that deserves to be built up and look like something we'd be proud of.
I know you're a Knicks and Rangers fan. How upset are you?
It's sad. I mean, they've moved the Garden a few times, not in my lifetime. So the memories of going to the Garden, walking up from Penn Station, I mean, just the memories of going, to Knicks games, Ranger games, whatever's been there. But I think it's crazy. They just invested like over $1 billion into the Garden, into renovations. So, I mean, if they move it, I'm going to be really sad. It's like Yankee Stadium. When they knocked down the original Yankee Stadium, I revolted, I stopped going to games for like 2 years.
I'm a huge sports fan, but I also like to try to keep these things in context. I don't know, it's complicated. I think the fans are going to be up in arms about it because, sports is all traditional, and if you're used to seeing the Garden where the Garden is, that's where you're going to want it to be. But at the same time, if it's better for the city for it to move a few blocks, no big deal. Now, they've also just put like close to $1 billion in renovations. Kind of a douche move to make the move within 10 years of that. That's like $100 million a year, and then you fold up shop. So that's a little rough. But I don't cry in my cereal a whole lot for the Dolans, I have to say.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does, really.
Maybe they do, but
maybe they do. Yeah.
Just like Travis, I just remember growing up and always going to the Garden with my father and my family, just always going to Knicks games and going to Yankee games. Not huge hockey fans, but it's just, in general, going to concerts too. And it's just surreal to actually imagine the Garden not being there. I just can't imagine that. So in general, it's just hard to digest that whole thought. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'll tell you something, from the legal perspective, a lot of legal issues come up with that whole eviction, but time will tell. Travis, Choppy, thanks so much for...
I want to say one thing on air. You mentioned Pete Rose. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree.
100%. Pete Rose is the man. A-Rod, McGuire, Sosa, Palmeiro, all those guys, Bonds, Clemens, I don't care. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame.
Pete Rose, if you're watching this, you have a supporter. I want you in the Hall of Fame. Well, there you have it. Baseball fans talking sports, especially Biogenesis. Go Angels.
Go Angels.
Well, Andy, thanks for talking sports. And there you have it. Andy Morales, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.
There you have it. Some exuberant fans talking sports. Many thanks to them for participating. If you have comments or suggestions about taking it to the streets, or if you wish to comment on the topics discussed, chime in. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Anyway, that's the show. Leave all your comments down below, and be sure to visit Law and Batting Order at lawandbattingorder.com, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Take care, guys. And of course, the season of training camps opening wouldn't be complete without paying homage to the Dallas Cowboys, who continue to believe that they are a Super Bowl caliber team, despite having a very overrated quarterback leading the way. On the bright side, training camp means one thing. We're a few weeks closer to the start of the football season. In today's Order in the Court, we're switching things up a bit. As you can see, I'm not in front of the desk. There's no bobbleheads around me, and I don't have a sports attorney talking sports law with me. But I did want to take some of the most pressing sports law headlines out there and pose those questions to pedestrians here. On a lighter note, last week, baseball fans around the world had the privilege of watching one of the most special moments in the baseball season. That's right, I'm talking about the All-Star Game. This year's All-Star festivities were held at Citi Field, home of the New York Mets. Yours truly was at all the events, and from beginning to end, you could witness baseball history at its finest. The All-Star Game showcased some of the best talent around the league, including Mets ace Matt Harvey and David Wright, along with Orioles first baseman Chris Davis, Tigers third baseman Miguel Cabrera, and Cardinals outfielder Carlos Beltran, who is still a fan favorite among Mets fans. While the NL had decent pitching throughout the course of the game, they weren't able to produce enough offense as the AL went on to win the Midsummer Classic. Welcome to a brand new episode of Law and Batting Order. I'm your host, Tony Iliakostas. Here are some quick hits from the past 2 weeks. Drama continues to unfold in Major League Baseball as the first steps have been taken to punish those directly involved in the biogenesis scandal. This week, Milwaukee Brewers outfielder Ryan Braun came clean to Major League Baseball as he said that he indeed received and used performance-enhancing drugs from Tony Bosch, the head of the Biogenesis Health Clinic in Miami, Florida. Because he came forward about this, Ryan Braun was suspended for the rest of this season without pay, which means that he will not be making $3.5 million. Remember, this is not the first time Ryan Braun has been linked to PED use. Back in 2012, after being named the NL MVP, he tested positive for PEDs, but his suspension was overturned over procedural error in the drug testing process. Aside from Braun, there has been lingering rumors that Yankees third baseman Alex Rodriguez may face a lifetime ban for his PED use linked to biogenesis. Much has yet to be seen regarding this whole scandal, but for now, it looks like MLB is not taking this issue lightly 3-0. Regardless of who won or lost, the experience of having the All-Star Game in Queens is something I'll never trade up. NFL training camp is underway, and this is the time where we get to see the strengths and weaknesses of our beloved teams. One team worth keeping an eye on are the New England Patriots, who are without Aaron Hernandez after he was charged with murder and subsequently dropped by the Pats. The Patriots are also without Rob Gronkowski, who is recovering from surgery. And then we have good old Tim Tebow, who is dying to make his name again in the league. Another team worth paying attention to are the Washington Redskins, particularly because we'll have our first glimpse of RG3 coming back on the field after suffering a brutal knee injury in the playoffs.